Wave Laurel. Go, hey! Because when people are cruising through their Facebook feed, if they see friendly people smiling, they'll stop. Yeah. They'll stop. Welcome to the Remodelers Show, folks. It is the Thursday, September 3rd, 2020 edition, and I have Laurel Winkel with She Builds. So do I need to add anything to the end of that? She Builds?
I usually say She Builds Kitchens.
And Laurel has been part of the Remodelers community, and the other day I said, who would like to join me for the Remodelers Show? And she digitally raised her hand and said, I will. And then we said, how about Thursday? And you said, yep, that works. And here we are. As we've been doing these remodeler shows, when I bring on a remodeler, we try to just come up with a topic that would be helpful for us to dig into. And it's kind of like a mini coaching call. So that's what we're doing today. I was just asking Laurel for some feedback on the Remodeler Show, and she said, I like the variety. So we're going to keep that going today with a variety show with you. Exciting?
Oh, exciting.
Okay. And 2 minutes before, we already have a comment. Ooh, look at that. I bet you she tagged you. That's probably why is that a maiden name?
That is my maiden name.
How do you pronounce that?
It's pronounced Arvy, like Harvey, but without the H, spelled differently, but that's how it's pronounced.
Okay. What are other ways that you've heard it butchered?
Oh, a rave, a Ravi, Aravi, lots of different.
Yes.
People try to get fancy. It's just Arvy.
I know, and I was thinking, I'm like, oh, it's so elegant. It's like almost European. And then you're like, no, it's Arvy.
French.
Okay, all right, Good enough. So right before I was clicking the live button, it was 11:59. I said, Laurel, hang on a second. I'm literally this close to eating my frog. Laurel, what does it mean to eat your frog?
That is when you do that one big thing that you need to do that day that you're kind of dreading doing, and you just need to get it out of the way.
Bingo. What is if you can identify the thing that you're most needing to do, that you're most likely to put off, and you eat that frog first thing in the morning, even though it's 12:03 here, so I didn't do it first thing in the morning, but I ate that frog. Identifying that and getting that knocked out. If you want to take 10 time management books and sift through them, I just summarized probably a huge chunk of them, of identifying what's most important and knocking it out. Because if you eat it first thing, it's going to give you energy. If you don't, it's going to drain you. You're going to think about it over and over again. So what's your frog today, by the way, before we get into your topic?
Oh, I have a couple estimates I need to get out today that I've been on my back burner a little bit, a couple days.
Give me an example of one of those. Tell me the name of it.
I visited a great family the other day, the Stone family, want me to remodel a kitchen, and they want to kind of start with my shoot from the hip estimate first before we go to the full-blown design. So I need to get that off to them.
Okay, cool. And how much time are you going to need to put into that? Are you doing some design work, or is it just a matter of giving a little ballpark range?
It's literally going to take me 10 minutes. I just need to do it.
Okay, because you've got a system where you're going to plug in the numbers, think about what we talked about, and it's going to spit it out. And then are you going to email that to them?
That part I will. Because I've already been there to see them and visit with them. And I think they're going to go ahead with the design. They just kind of want to make sure we're going to fit in their budget first. Gotcha.
Awesome. One thing I would just kind of toss out there, since this is kind of a live coaching call on the Remodeler Show, is have you used the Loom tool yet? Loom?
No, I haven't. Laurel. Just heard about it on your show, and I haven't tried it yet, but I want to.
Okay, so I would encourage you, when you get that put together, because you're gonna take a few minutes to type up an email, right? Mm-hmm. You're gonna say, it was so great to meet you guys, and below what you're gonna see is da-da-da. You're gonna take the time to type that out, and you want to strike the right chord, and you want to be excited about it. Something that's going to save you time and be more effective is to use Loom. So for everybody watching, listening, Loom, and you just download it onto your computer. You click the button, and you can have it show your screen and also show your video. You can move your video around on the screen. And you would say something like, hey, this is Laurel here. It was so great to meet you guys earlier in the week, Mr. and Mrs. Stone. What I've put together is what we discussed, which is a ballpark range. Based on the information we talked about, based on my years of experience doing this, I'm anticipating that this project's going to range anywhere, from $50,000 to $65,000. And you'll see the details in the attachment that I'm going to put in this email. As a next step, boom, and get very clear with what the next step is. You'll record that. It'll be more. You might even point out a few things on the screen or on the ballpark range. And then you'll say, let me know what your next step is. Look forward to working with you guys. Super excited about it. And then you click done, and it immediately, the power of it is it immediately just opens up a link. You copy and paste that link, done. You don't download it, have to upload it. It's just really fast. So there's been a lot of people that have been starting to use that in showing updated designs, of following up on sales. So I would encourage you to try that out.
I'm going to try it. I think that's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Michael says it's like Marco Polo for computers. What do you think he means by that? You think like Marco Polo, because there's an app called Marco Polo where it's like quick back and forth.
I use it every day. Yep.
Marco Polo for computers. I suppose it is, Michael. I suppose it is. All right. So Laurel, we're going to get into kind of one main topic here. And I had asked you, where's my notes on it? I had my notes right here. Hang on one second. Where's it at? 516. Sing or something. Entertain the people while I'm looking for this, Laurel. All right. You're off the hook. Can you sing, by the way?
I can try.
Are you a singer?
Not officially.
Have you ever sung in public before by yourself?
Yes, but it's not something I do.
Okay. I'm not going to make you do it. I'm just making you anxious. Just trying to make you anxious and nervous and make for good TV here. All right. So this is what you said. Can we talk about how to know when it's time to hire help? That's a big question for me. Brian, who's your husband, is stretched pretty thin right now as our field manager. At what point should we hire another Brian? Okay, so that's kind of the situation. If you could, just for the sake of everybody listening, so they can chime in as well, tell us about the field you have, the people you have in your field, and just kind of how you have the production side of your remodeling business set up.
So I do kitchens only. I just really focus in on kitchens, and I have a pretty dialed in system for that. We start a new kitchen every 2 weeks, and then each kitchen takes 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how much is involved with it. I have 2 employees that are cabinet installers. I prefer to have them as employees so that they're trained to do it the way I want the cabinets installed. And then we use trade partners for everything else. Brian does typically do some of the small stuff, like install the hardware, put the doors on, maybe put in a toe kick here and there, and kind of troubleshoot things and that sort of things. And he babysits the trades as he's kind of jumping around from job to job, making sure he's meeting the tile contractor one day.
If we were to use a different word than babysit, what would we use?
Supervise.
That sounds better, because you use the phrase trade partner, which is much better than subcontractor. They're not sub anything. They are excellent and they are partners. So I heard that. So he supervises them. He manages them. He keeps them moving. Babysit. Right. And I know you might not ever say that in front of a client, but sometimes if you're saying it a lot, it can come out. And it just has a... Anyways, I shouldn't have even brought it up.
That's okay. No, okay. It's good.
Okay. So you have trade partners, and Brian is doing, he's managing them. He's facilitating all of that. Just kind of doing that project management, making sure materials are there, making sure, hey, need you tomorrow. We had a change in the schedule. Instead of Friday, I need you on Monday. Okay. So who else is out on the production or anything else to kind of show what that production side looks like? Anything else you'd add?
I do have an assistant project manager that helps me order materials and schedule those trade partners and stuff like that. And sometimes I'm out in the field a little bit, but not as often because I'm trying to manage the business. So I do the design work.
I was going to say, right, manage the business plus sales plus design.
Right. Okay. I do the consultations with the clients and the follow-ups and stuff like that. Okay.
So I heard we start a new kitchen every 2 weeks, takes 4 to 6 weeks. So we have multiple projects going on at the same time. And the 2 people that you have that are installing cabinets, are they full-time? Are they part-time? What's their situation?
They're part-time. They just install cabinets for me when we have cabinets that need to be installed. So a few times a month, they're installing cabinets for me.
Gotcha. So I probably 60, 70% of like the work going on out in the field is done by your trade partners.
Yes.
That you have lined up. Okay. Okay. And your trade partners have the ability to take on more work if you had more work for them?
Yeah, I think that they like working for me because I give them quite a bit of, like my tile guy, he can pretty much count on working for me 3 or 4 days a month. So I think
Okay.
that they like working with me, and I feel like I have good relationships with my trade partners.
Okay. We got some questions. People are engaged here. It's Bryan, Jim. Why are you spelling his name wrong, Jim? Does Brian sell was the question.
He doesn't.
He does
He
not.
doesn't go out and see the clients. He doesn't meet the clients until we do our pre-construction meeting. That's the first time he ever sees the clients.
Okay. And Michael said he was talking about the app, remodeling virtual karaoke. I wonder if he's doing like text. Do you understand that?
I don't.
And then he said guide, remodeling virtual guide event. Okay. Michael, I want you to pull yourself together, and I need some more clarity in your comments. And then also Jim had some questions. How tight are your budget numbers range? Okay, so just going back briefly to before we got into the main topic, when I kind of threw that out there, I said, anywhere from 50,000 to 65,000, right? That little bit of a range. For the one that you're going to be putting together, and it's only going to take you 10 minutes, is it really going to only take 10 minutes?
Probably.
Okay. Here's something stupid, but that works. Here's a sticky note. I had a lot to get done today, and for some reason, by me putting down the one thing that I'm working on next and forcing myself to look at it and then scribble it out when I'm done, it has kept me on point all day today. So you probably don't need silly accountability like that, but when you said 10 minutes and I just need to get this done, you need an uninterrupted 10 minutes, which is the big hard part.
Right. And
Right.
The other part is I have like 20 other 10-minute things that need to be done.
Right.
So.
Focus on one thing at a time. But to Jim's question, how would you answer that?
How tight are my budget numbers and range? Meaning how close are my estimates to the real thing?
No, more so on that ballpark range that you're giving before they sign the design agreement. How tight do you make that?
Usually 10 to 15,000. Like I'll say, I usually give a range. Like this is where if you choose things that are on the lower end of the cost spectrum, and this would be the higher end, and you're going to be between 35 and 50.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay, good. Yeah, and Jim, to your question or bringing that up, it's what I see more times than not is too tight of range. I saw one the other day where there hasn't been any design work done. There's so much planning, decision making, and it was like your project's going to range anywhere between $80,000 and $84,000. That's way too tight. There's way too many variables, and I think there's value in giving them a big range because they go, "Wow, that's a big range." Yes, it is. Because through the design and development and selection process, we have a lot of decisions to make, and it can go from down here to that higher end or above based on what we decide.
Right. I usually just tell them, this is your range, and you're probably going to fall somewhere in the middle.
Okay. All right. Sweet. All right. So back to, that's part of the live show is there's a little delay sometimes on the messages. We bounce around a little bit, but now we're getting back focused. You just went through and talked about your production team. We got a little bit of a feel for who's out there, in the different steps. And again, your main question is, how do I know when it's time to hire help? So let me ask you a few questions around that just to kind of dig into it a little bit. So first, what is your risk tolerance? Are you somebody that's managing this business from a standpoint of, even if I'm not quite ready to bring somebody on, I'm comfortable bringing somebody on, or is it something like, man, we got to be bursting at the seams. I got to really, really, really be comfortable with this in order to make a hire like that? Where's your risk tolerance?
I'd say my risk tolerance is pretty high. I have to talk myself out of doing things because I'm ready to just jump in sometimes too fast. So I think I'm pretty risk tolerant.
Okay, good. Do you have, let's say you're going to pay this person, let's say we're going to, and we're going to talk about different options, but let's say you're going to find another Brian. Is Brian in the room?
No.
Okay, I thought I saw somebody walk in earlier because I was going to be like, and Brian, he's amazing and we can't find another one like him. I was going to, help his ego and stuff. But if he's not there, okay, if we find another Brian, dime a dozen. He's not. He's excellent. But if we find another Brian, and let's say we're going to pay that person, him or her, $60,000 a year. So if I divide that just in half over 6 months, that's $30,000. One question I like to ask clients and remodelers when they're thinking about doing a hire is, do you have 6 months of their salary saved up?
I don't, but that's a good number. I need to know what I should be shooting for.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a very safe number. And that's where that risk tolerance comes in. Like if one of my clients says, Kyle, we've thought through this. I've got 6 months saved up. Like I've got a cushion there. Not just, I've got that in savings, but even like I've earmarked that for this person, like there's a lot of comfort in that.
Yeah.
But let's say, do you have 3 months of their salary saved up? Do you have 2 months of their salary saved up? So thinking through, do I need to have some additional savings, additional cushion? Because onboarding this person, like they're not going to be hitting the ground running right away. They're going to shadow Brian. They're going to do some training with you. They're not going to be at their full capacity right away. That's part of the reason why we want to have some savings, in the hopper, so that the comfort level of hiring that person and just the overall risk is lower. So that's one thing, kind of think through what do we need to do salary wise. And something that's interesting, as I talked to clients about that over the years, is all of a sudden you're like, you know what, my goal is to save 3 months of their projected salary. Maybe you decide that, or 4 months of projected salary. Now you're going, okay, we're not going to hire this person right now. I'm waiting until I get this goal. But now you have a goal that you're shooting for, you're working towards it, and you can almost forecast of saying, you know what, by February or by January, I think we're going to be able to get there. That's a little bit more of that well thought out plan versus kind of shooting from the hip. So that's something that I would encourage you to kind of think about. Any thoughts or questions on that?
No, I think that's great, because I don't know what to shoot for as far as that goes. So that's good to have that information.
Okay, I've got some other questions here, but we got to keep up with our friends here. So Michael, guide and see, he was being. We just weren't following him because we had a little bit of a delay. He's being his normal smart self. Instead of babysit, we're going to guide. He guides. Or karaoke from Japan. Kara, invisible. Oki, orchestra. Whoa. So like he is an invisible orchestrator. He's the man behind the scenes that's making it happen. I think, are you reading that the same way?
Yeah.
In Asia, the Kara part is in characters and the OK is in English. Sorry for the confusion. Man, I don't think I'm ever going to be as smart as Michael Anschel. But that's okay.
Got it.
It makes me think. That's cool. But yes, again, going back to those words of like babysit, that's cool. Jim said, "Are you setting money aside for the onboarding of the new hire?" Yeah, that's kind of what we're getting at. Hopefully, we can almost just cash flow it. Like, let's say you save up 4 months and you've got $20,000. That's kind of okay. That's set aside in case this takes time. And sometimes we might just not even have to touch it, and we can just cash flow it, and then we get them onboarded, and that money's still sitting there, and we can think through how we use that. But that's something that I just want you thinking about, is not just the need that you have out there, but also, am I prepared for it? Okay. What is your backlog of work? A lot of times when I look at on a backlog of work, so this is another question as we ask the question, when do I know if it's time to hire? Right. So another question I would go down is, what is your backlog of work? And when I think of backlog, I'm not talking about people that you are feeling pretty optimistic are going to sign. Those don't count. When I talk backlog, I've got a signed contract. And then, yes, we do talk about what is your pipeline, but I'm talking about signed contract. And a lot of times when we look at that, I like to think through this month, next month, the following month. This month, next month, the following month. So if you looked at all the jobs you have signed, you think of your production schedule and you kind of put that in there and say, okay, we're doing the hunt job for $50,000. About 25,000 of that's is gonna be produced in September, 25,000 in October. That means we've got 25,000 of production in September and 25 in October. And when we add all of our different projects up, we can kind of see, okay, in September, we've got, $75,000 of income coming in. October, we actually already have 90,000 based on our schedule and what we have signed. And then November, we just have $20,000 signed. And then when we compare that to just what we need to be producing each month, that can kind of tie back into just our overall, you see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
Following me, kind of, sort of. Well, kind of, sort of. So I was doing a little bit of just, that's why I like to look at that. I want to see. So, for example, if you told me, Kyle, I need to be at $100,000 of production per month. I've done my business budget. I've looked at this, and in order for me to pay everything and cover everything and have this net profit, I need to be at $100,000 a month. And when you look at what you're able to produce, you look at your schedule and you plan that out and you show all that, and you're at $75,000 a month, that's all you can produce because of your team. It's like, ruh-roh, we got a bit of a problem. We need to produce more each month. You see what I'm saying there?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of an overall budget thing that I like to kind of wrestle with and think about. But just the simple question, how's your backlog of work? Is it like bursting at the seams? Are people waiting months and months? What does that look like?
I just did a consultation with a client last night and told her that my next availability is February. So that's where I'm at right now. And that's doing 3 a month. Except for December, I purposely tried to keep it a little lighter in December.
Why? Because you want like time. You think you've earned time off? You think, huh?
Because Decembers are crazy.
Decembers are crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's 2020. Every month is crazy, Laurel.
True that.
True that. True dat, she says, D-A-T.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's part of this equation. Like, Kyle, I'm going out to people and saying, based on starting 3 a month, we're already out to February. That emphasizes we need to hire somebody a lot more than if you said, I've got the next couple months covered. So that's some real urgency, because, we get out there, 3 or 4 months, and I think people can understand that, especially right now. They wrap your head around it. But all of a sudden they get 5, 6, 7 months. It's not impossible to sell people on that, but it's getting out there, isn't it?
Yeah, when somebody wants to remodel their kitchen, they're not thinking 6 to 9 months in the future. They would really like to start soon.
Yeah. So that's, it still sometimes is the reality, and we might have to sell them on that and waiting for us. But I'm hearing somebody that is like, we need to crank through these projects faster so that people don't have to wait so long. And my next question, whenever I think of, do I want to hire? Do I need to hire? What does this look like? How ambitious are you? Are you wanting to grow your business? Are you wanting to keep it around the same time? When you reached out to me a month or so ago, I think you were answering that of like, Kyle, I'm ambitious. Wait till you hear my plan. So I kind of know the answer. But for everybody watching, like, when you think about, should I hire? How ambitious are you? How much do you want to grow? In your case, what does that look like?
Well, I figure somebody's got to take over the world. It might as well be me. Yeah, I'm pretty ambitious. I would like my company to be in the $5 million a year area. That's where I would like to be.
Okay. And you're around where right now? What are you projecting to be?
Probably about 400.
Yep. And you're newer business, right?
I've been in business for 4 years.
Yeah. So you're getting it up, but there's definitely momentum going on in the business, and the growth is projecting. Okay. So in that case, that's also a big factor. Jim said, February for your backlog. You go, girl. We're just having fun today. Thanks, Jim. Pinky in the brain. What is he talking about?
I mean, I know who that is.
Maybe that's the true dat thing we said. I don't know. He's tricking us today. Okay, so I'm hearing I've got a big backlog of work. The savings part, the comfort level of how much do I have saved, that's a big factor that rises up near the top of going, okay, we've got to understand our numbers. We got to understand if we can afford the onboarding, just the expense of going on. But I'm reassured when I hear we've got a big backlog of work, and I'm going to be able to push this production up several months, and we can start 4 projects. We can start 5 projects. Right. And when you do that, you can start to see, okay, if I'm doing 5 projects a month, here's what my revenue is going to be. This position is going to pay for itself very quickly. Right.
That's kind of where I'm at. I'm wondering if that would be the case, if it would be able to pay for itself, if I could up our production.
Yeah. I mean, if you're producing $60,000, let's say, a month, and by adding somebody that can be the karaoke, that can be the not babysitter, but karaoke or another project manager, another person that's managing this project, making sure people are there, keeping things moving, lining it up, and you have another person that can do that, you're going to be able to crank through projects quicker. And instead of 60,000, you're going to be able to do 90,000. And if you're doing 90,000 instead of 60, that's an additional $30,000 a month. That's another 10, 12, I'm doing quick math, but like 10, 12, $13,000 of gross profit, this person can pay for themselves pretty quickly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are rough numbers, but yes, you're right in the case of if I'm increasing my sales 30, 40%, I'm going to be able to afford this person.
Right. I mean, if Brian can handle supervising 3 projects at a time, and I had another one of him, then can't I just about double my production?
Can you keep perhaps? Yes. The next question is, yes, no, we got this never ending struggle, and all remodelers feel this of like, oh, oh, we got production going now. We're going crazy. Sales catch up. Right now, sales is kicking butt and production's trying to keep up, right? And that balance, welcome to the tension that you guys all have. And frankly, a lot of people have that. I even have that in the coaching practice. Like when I want more clients and I have some time is when they're not there. And then, when I'm booked, that's when everybody and their uncle reaches out to me, right? There's always that tension of sales and production. So that is a concern.
Yeah. And where I'm coming from really on that is I don't do any marketing at the moment and I'm booked out that far. I have Instagram and Facebook and my website and everything is word of mouth. So I kind of think, well, imagine if I actually worked on my marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes. Yeah. And you're going to keep building momentum. You're doing marketing though, right? Every project that you do, every post that you make, your website, and just giving your clients an exceptional remodeling experience is marketing.
Right. It's passive marketing, right? I mean, we have a yard sign, stuff like that.
Yeah. You're doing things.
I'm not pushing it really hard because I don't handle more on the marketing. I mean, on the sales end right now.
Hang on. So. More importantly, the pinky and the brain is the thing of taking over the world. And I think we can listen to the YouTube probably intro to Pinky and the Brain, and they talk about taking over the world. It's hard to keep up with everybody on the Remodelers Show. And Jim kind of mentioned, you're also going to need the cabinet installer. How, do they have more ability to take on more work? And obviously the trade partners have to come along with that as well. So in my mind, to this question of, can we talk about when is the right time to hire? To me, what I'm hearing as far as takeaways and things that I want you thinking about and creating a plan for is, one, I want you to really dig into the numbers. What do I have in savings? What do I have? What can I build up? Do I need to just battle through this for another 2 or 3 months and we just need to hustle faster so I can get a little bit of a cushion going? Or is my comfort level saying, I got a big backlog. It's a little risky to take somebody on, but I'm going to do it. Think through that a little bit and err on the side of, making sure you're not being too risky is part of what I've got I'm thinking about. Wrestle with your numbers as far as, okay, if we did 5 projects, average projects a month, what does that look like on our P&L? What does that look like for our business? Wrestle with that a little bit and understand that more clearly, because understanding that more clearly is going to give you more confidence. Anytime you make a hire, it better be backed up with showing me on paper how you can afford this. Okay. So and I'm sorry I yelled, but that's what I do sometimes to emphasize it. Don't hire somebody and be like, I just think it's going to work and I just got this hunch. Okay, yes, I understand that, but show me how these numbers work, because you more so than me as a coach, but you need to see that, because seeing numbers and seeing how you can afford things and where your sales need to be and what you need to bring your projects in at gives you confidence to see it through, to be confident, to go out there and sell harder and better. So that's a big thing. The other thing that starts to come to my mind is, all right, this sounds pretty clear. It sounds pretty good. It sounds like the direction you probably need to go. Let's create a job description. Let's start to think through what this person, what they do and how and what we're looking for out of them, and start to think through what that job posting might look like. And also maybe you start to kind of put the word out there a little bit to your contacts, to your people, of saying, hey, we're on the prowl for this type of person. Do you know anybody? Okay. Don't rely on word of mouth marketing. Think of it like a portfolio. You want to be diverse. Good thought. If the backlog is more than 2 months, that would be a solid indicator to add staff. Yeah, I think he's echoing kind of what we're getting at there. Make sure you hire the right candidate, not the most convenient. Absolutely, right? Hire slow. Have a good process. What's your takeaways?
My takeaways are, I need to concentrate on my numbers a little bit more and figure out, really solidly what this is going to take.
Yep. What's another takeaway?
Another takeaway. I think I'm moving in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I think I'm doing the right things, at least somewhere. So.
Yep. Absolutely. Right. Yeah. Big backlog of work, and it's time. This is very much it very much feels like, okay, it's time to kick this into the next gear, right? By doing this, you're building a bigger business, and you're also creating a bigger machine. You got a bigger beast to feed, right? Which means we've got to keep selling, which means all of a sudden, I don't do much marketing. Well, you don't do much marketing to do X amount of revenue, but if you're going to need to do 5 or 6 kitchens a month, maybe we do need to do a little bit more marketing, or maybe you're just killing it. That's part of it. But as you build the machine, everything else builds. But that is in alignment with your vision of where you're wanting to take this. So I think you're feeling the pinch, and you're feeling the something's got to give. We can only do so much here. We got a big backlog of work. It's time to make that next hire and grow to the next level, which is exciting. Agree with Kyle. Not what you need to have. Not that you need to have the cash on hand for the year of the new hire, but to know what they are bringing in and how that keeps things solvent is key. How much is this costing me? What am I able to increase my production for, in order to keep up with this? So good. I felt good. I felt good about that Remodeler Show and our conversation on this topic, Laurel.
Thank you. I have some things to think about and work on. So that's great.
Feeding the beast, that is the real challenge. It changes the culture of the company, right? All of a sudden we have a new person in here, and the way Brian's always done it, now we've got another person. We've got, hit those two relationships. We got your relationship, right? So that's so much where hiring is so key. That's the other thing that I love that you have going, is just from the way that you go about the business. She builds totally unique. Very much, here's who our ideal client is. We only do kitchens. We've got a very solid niche, or niche, since you're on the West Coast. Are you a niche or a niche person?
I'm a niche person.
That's my girl. We've got that. So now, yes, I mean, you've been able to find some trade partners, but you found an assistant designer, which you've told me about before, that just feels like it's a really good fit. This next hire, you've got to make sure that you find the right person, because you've got a really cool thing going.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we've got a good thing going.
Jim says it's a wicked awesome show today. Thanks, guys. We'll be back tomorrow. I say we'll. Laurel will be maybe watching
numbers.
Yes. Kyle, I haven't watched your Remodeler Show in 2 weeks. I've just been working on these numbers. But it would be super interesting. Keep this in mind of maybe we can, and Bailey can keep this in mind too, of maybe we can kind of revisit this and say, hey, remember when we did that? Maybe we can do another show in 3 months and say, hey, how did you go about this? I heard that you hired. Keep that in mind. Can you do me a favor, Laurel? Can you remember to remind me to do that?
Yeah, let's
revisit this. All right, cool. And I'll make a note as well. All right, folks. See you tomorrow. Thanks, Laurel.
Kyle.